The stars above the Atacama Desert shimmered like diamonds scattered across black velvet. Jinwoo adjusted his glasses and stared at the computer screen, his coffee growing cold beside him. Something was wrong with the data. The gravitational readings from Sector 7 made no sense at all. He had been working at the observatory for 3 years now, and he had never seen anything like this. The numbers danced across his screen in patterns that should not exist. It was as if something massive was bending space itself, but there was nothing there. At least, nothing that should be there. Jinwoo picked up his phone and dialed Hyun in Seoul. His friend would still be awake, probably hunched over his own computer in his tiny apartment. The phone rang twice before Hyun answered. "Tell me you see it too," Jinwoo said without greeting. Hyun was quiet for a moment. "The gravitational anomalies?" "Yes. I have been tracking them for 6 hours now. Jinwoo, this is not natural. This is not a black hole or neutron star. This is something else." "Something artificial?" "Maybe. The patterns are too regular, too precise." Jinwoo felt his heart beat faster. "Should we report this?" "To who? And tell them what? That we think aliens are in our solar system?" Hyun laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Let me run more analysis. Call you back in an hour." Far above Earth, beyond the orbit of Neptune, Fleet Commander Velthar stood on the bridge of his ship. His 3 eyes studied the blue and green planet displayed on the viewing screen. It looked peaceful from here, almost beautiful. But looks could be deceiving. They always were. "Begin the weapons scan," he ordered. His second officer, a young female named Kess, moved her webbed fingers across the control panel. "Scanning now, Commander. Deep spectrum analysis in progress." Velthar had done this many times before, 43 times to be exact. Every time the Galactic Unity discovered a new species approaching space travel capability, they sent a fleet to assess the threat level. It was standard procedure, necessary procedure. The galaxy had learned this lesson the hard way centuries ago. "Initial results coming through," Kess reported. "Detecting nuclear weapons, primitive design, chemical explosives, projectile weapons using gunpowder, some electromagnetic pulse capabilities." Velthar's main eye narrowed. "That's all?" "Yes, Commander. Nothing beyond basic technological warfare. No plasma weapons, no antimatter devices, no quantum disruptors." This puzzled Velthar. The humans had split the atom. They had built machines that could leave their planet. They had satellites and computers and global communication networks, but their weapons were so primitive, so weak. How had they survived long enough to develop any technology at all? "What about their planet?" he asked. "Classification?" Kess checked her readings. Her skin turned a pale blue, which meant she was concerned. "Commander, this planet is classified as Category 12. 12? Velthar moved closer to the screen. "Are you certain?" "Yes, Commander. High gravity, extreme temperature variations, volatile weather systems, tectonic instability, and the life forms—" She paused. "Commander, this planet is filled with apex predators, large ones. The humans are not even the largest predators on their world." Velthar felt a chill run through his body. Category 12 planets were death worlds. Most species never evolved past basic survival on such planets. Those that did were usually too aggressive to develop space travel before destroying themselves. How did they survive? He wondered aloud. Unknown, Commander. But they did more than survive. They thrived. They spread across their entire planet. They live in the frozen regions. They live in the hottest deserts. They even live on the water. Remarkable, Velthar whispered. Back on Earth, Nari sat in the UN Security Council building, reading the report that had just been marked urgent. She was a liaison officer, responsible for coordinating between military intelligence and the Council. The report was from two scientists, one in Chile and one in South Korea. Both were respected in their fields. Both were claiming the same impossible thing. She picked up her secure phone and made a call. Within an hour, she was in a video conference with Jinwoo and Hyun. "Gentlemen," she said, "I need you to explain this to me like I am 5 years old. You think there are alien ships in our solar system?" Jinwoo nodded. "We don't just think it. We know it. The gravitational signatures are clear. There are at least 7 large objects out past Neptune. They are using some kind of technology to bend light around themselves, but they cannot hide their mass." "How large are we talking?" Hyun pulled up a chart. "Each one is roughly the size of a city, maybe 3 kilometers long." Nari felt her stomach drop. "And they are just sitting there, watching us?" "It appears that way," Jinwoo confirmed. "What do they want?" "We don't know. But Nari, if they wanted to attack us, they would have done it by now. They have been there for at least 3 days. Nari closed her eyes. 3 days. Alien ships had been in their solar system for 3 days, and nobody had known. "I need to brief the council. Can you send me everything you have?" "Already done," Hyun said. "Check your secure email." After the call ended, Nari sat in silence. She had trained for many scenarios: nuclear war, biological attacks, cyber warfare, but not this. Never this. On the alien flagship, Velthar reviewed the scan results again. The weapons were primitive. No threat to his fleet. No threat to the galactic unity. By all standard measures, humanity should be classified as Level 2, minor concern. They could be contacted safely, brought into the galactic community with minimal restrictions. But something bothered him. Something about the way humans had spread across their hostile planet. Something about how they had survived when they should have gone extinct. "Kess," he said slowly, "run a secondary scan. I want biological and psychological profiles. I want to know what makes these creatures tick." "Yes, Commander. That will take several hours. I have time. Something about this species does not add up. They have weak weapons, but they conquered a death world. There is a piece missing from this puzzle, and I want to find it before we make contact." Kess began the deep scan, sending invisible waves of energy toward the blue planet below. She had no idea what they would discover. None of them did. Jinwoo stood outside the observatory, looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, someone was looking back. Someone was watching them, studying them. He wondered what they saw. He wondered what they thought of humanity. He wondered if they came in peace, or if they came with something else in mind. The deep scan took longer than Velthar expected. His ship's computers worked through the night, analyzing every piece of data they could gather from Earth: radio signals, television broadcasts, internet traffic, medical records, historical documents, everything that humanity had ever recorded about itself. Krell, the fleet's xenobiologist, arrived on the bridge after 14 hours of analysis. His face was pale, which was unusual for his species. They rarely showed fear. "Commander," Krell said quietly, "you need to see this." Velthar followed him to the analysis room. The walls were covered with screens showing human biology, human history, human behavior. Krell pointed to the first screen. "Let's start with their bodies. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. Do you know what that means?" "Enlighten me." "It means they chase their prey until it dies from exhaustion. They are not the fastest creatures on their planet, not even close. But they can run for hours, sometimes for days. Their prey runs away, hides, rests. But humans just keep coming. They follow tracks. They follow scent. They follow intuition. Eventually, the prey collapses from heat and exhaustion, and the humans simply walk up and kill it." Velthar stared at the screen. It showed a human running across a desert, mile after mile, under a burning sun. "This is their hunting method?" Was their hunting method for hundreds of thousands of years. Commander, most predators on Earth give up after a short chase. Humans never give up. It is coded into their biology, into their psychology. Krell moved to another screen. Look at this. Humans can regulate their body temperature through water secretion. They call it sweating. It lets them function in extreme heat that would kill most creatures. And here, look at this medical data. Humans can survive losing massive amounts of blood. They can heal from broken bones. They can even regrow parts of their liver. Impressive, Velthar admitted, but not threatening. Wait, there is more. Krell pulled up historical records. This species has been at war with itself for its entire recorded history, not occasional conflict, continuous warfare. They have developed thousands of ways to kill each other. They study it. They teach it. They write books about it. On the screen, images flashed by. Ancient battles, medieval warfare, modern combat, weapons through the ages, tactics, strategy, the evolution of organized violence. Every generation of humans has known war, Krell continued. It is part of their culture, part of their identity. And look at what they do to prisoners, to enemies. They have something called psychological warfare. They break their enemies' minds before they break their bodies. Velthar felt uncomfortable. Surely they have evolved beyond this now. Have they? Krell pulled up recent news reports. These are from this year, this month, this week. Humans are still fighting wars, smaller wars than before, yes, but they never stopped. They never will. Across the ocean from the Atacama Desert, Yuna stood in her laboratory at the Marine Research Facility. She was recording a lecture for her students about extremophiles, organisms that lived in impossible conditions. Life on Earth is incredibly resilient, she told the camera. We have found bacteria living in boiling water, in frozen ice, in acidic pools that would dissolve metal. We have found them miles underground and high in the atmosphere. Life finds a way, no matter how hostile the environment. She smiled and continued. But humans are the ultimate extremophiles. We live everywhere on this planet. Antarctica? We built research stations there. The Sahara Desert? We built cities there. The tops of mountains where the air is thin? We climbed them for fun. The deepest oceans? We dive down in submarines to explore. We are adaptable. We are stubborn. We are survivors. That is what makes us human. Unknown to Yuna, her lecture was being intercepted by the alien scanners. Her words were being analyzed by Krell and his team. Krell turned to Velthar. Commander, she is correct. Humans live in environments that would kill most of our species within hours. They do it voluntarily. They do it for recreation. Recreation? Velthar repeated the word carefully. Yes, humans climb mountains for enjoyment. They dive deep underwater for enjoyment. They jump from aircraft and call it sport. They have a concept called extreme sports. It means deliberately putting themselves in dangerous situations for pleasure. Velthar sat down slowly. That is not normal behavior. No, Commander, it is not. And there is something else. Krell pulled up more data. Humans have domesticated other species. Not for food, though they do that too, but for companionship. They keep predators in their homes. They live with creatures that have teeth and claws. They call them pets. They treat them like family. On the screen, images showed humans with dogs, cats, even larger animals, children playing with animals that could hurt them, adults sleeping next to predators. They form pack bonds, Krell explained, but not just with their own species, with any species. They bonded with wolves thousands of years ago and turned them into dogs. They did the same with wild cats, with horses, with birds of prey. If a human decides to bond with a creature, that bond becomes unbreakable. Fascinating, Velthar murmured. In Seoul, Taeyang prepared for his lecture at the War College. He was a military historian, and today he was teaching about unconventional warfare. His students, all military officers, listened carefully as he spoke. Traditional warfare is simple, Taeyang explained. Army meets army. The stronger force wins. But humans have never been content with simple. Throughout history, we have developed asymmetric warfare, guerrilla tactics, insurgency, terrorism, cyber warfare. We find ways to win even when we are outmatched. He clicked through slides showing historical examples. A small force can defeat a large army if they are clever enough, if they are patient enough, if they are willing to sacrifice. The key to understanding human warfare, he said, is understanding that we fight with more than weapons. We fight with our minds. We fight with our will. We fight with our refusal to surrender. Many battles have been won not by the stronger army, but by the army that refused to quit. His lecture was also being intercepted and analyzed. Krell showed this to Velthar as well. They don't just fight, Commander. They think about fighting. They study it like we study mathematics. They teach their children about war. They prepare for it constantly, even in peacetime. Velthar stood and walked to the main viewing screen. Earth hung there, beautiful and blue. Show me more about their psychology. Krell pulled up psychological studies. Humans experience something called revenge. If you harm a human, they will remember. For years, for decades, sometimes for their entire lives. And they will seek to harm you back. Not for survival, not for resources. Just for the principle of it. They hold grudges. More than that, they have a sense of justice that drives them to action even when it is not logical. They will sacrifice themselves for abstract concepts, honor, duty, revenge, love. Velthar absorbed this information slowly. A species that could survive anywhere. That hunted by exhaustion, that never gave up. That formed unbreakable bonds, that fought with their minds as much as their bodies. That remembered every wrong and sought to correct it. What else? He asked quietly. They have minimal sleep requirements compared to most species. They can function on a few hours of rest. Some humans have gone days without sleep during crises. Their bodies produce adrenaline, a chemical that makes them stronger and faster when threatened. They can ignore pain when necessary. They have stories of humans performing impossible feats under stress, lifting heavy objects, fighting despite mortal wounds, continuing to function when they should be dead. Velthar was silent for a long moment. Krell, in your professional opinion as a xenobiologist, what are we dealing with here? Krell chose his words carefully. Commander, humans evolved on a death world as both predator and prey. They had to be tough to survive the environment. They had to be smart to survive the predators. They had to be cooperative to survive each other. They combined all these traits into something unique. They are not the strongest species, not the fastest, not the smartest, but they are the most persistent, the most adaptable, the most relentless. And their weapons are primitive. Yes, Commander. Because they never needed better weapons. They are the weapon. Velthar looked at the blue planet again. Suddenly it did not look peaceful anymore. It looked like what it was, a world that had forged its dominant species through millions of years of constant pressure. A world that had created the perfect survivor. Continue the analysis, he ordered. I want to know everything. 3 days after the deep scan began, Velthar called an emergency meeting with his senior staff. They gathered in the main briefing room, confusion evident on their faces. The commander rarely called emergency meetings. I have been reviewing the data on humanity, Velthar began, and I believe we have made a critical error in our initial assessment. Kess, his second officer, shifted uncomfortably. Sir, the weapons scan was thorough. They pose no military threat to the fleet. That is exactly my point. Velthar activated the main display. We were looking for the wrong kind of threat. We scanned for weapons. We should have been scanning for the warriors themselves. He pulled up a new set of data. Let me show you what we found. This is a human psychological profile compiled from their own research. Humans study themselves constantly. They have entire fields of science dedicated to understanding their own minds. On the screen, a woman appeared. It was a video of Minji, a psychologist in Busan, giving a presentation at a medical conference. Human resilience is extraordinary, Minji explained to her audience. We have documented cases of people surviving incredible trauma and recovering fully. Physical trauma, emotional trauma, psychological trauma. The human mind has built-in recovery mechanisms that activate automatically. She clicked through case studies. A person loses their home in a disaster. They rebuild. They lose loved ones. They grieve. And then they continue living. They experience violence. They process it. They adapt. Time and time again, we see humans endure things that should break them, and instead, they become stronger. This is called post-traumatic growth, Minji continued. Humans don't just survive trauma, they often emerge from it with increased strength, deeper relationships, and greater appreciation for life. We are built to endure. It is in our nature. Velthar paused the video. Do you understand what this means? Humans have psychology that expects trauma. Their minds are designed to process horror and come back stronger. What kind of evolution creates that? Krell answered quietly. Evolution on a death world, where trauma is constant. Exactly. Velthar pulled up more files. Let me show you something else. This is military training footage from various human nations. The screen showed Junho and his Special Forces unit during a training exercise. They were moving through a swamp, carrying heavy equipment. They had been awake for 36 hours. Their faces showed exhaustion, but they kept moving. The training instructor's voice came through clearly. Pain is temporary, quitting is permanent. Push through. Mind over matter. If you don't mind, it don't matter. Velthar watched his officers' reactions as the humans continued their exercise. They ran. They crawled through mud. They carried each other when one fell. They completed obstacles that looked impossible. They trained themselves to ignore their bodies, Krell observed. They push past what should be physical limits. Yes, they call it mental toughness, and they teach it to their warriors from a young age. Velthar switched to different footage. But here is what truly concerns me. The new video showed a human soldier in combat. He had been shot, wounded badly, but he continued fighting. He protected his team until help arrived. Then he collapsed. This human survived, Velthar said. They gave him medical care, surgery, months of recovery. He returned to duty. He volunteered to go back to combat. Silence filled the room. Who does that? Kess whispered. Who nearly dies and chooses to go back? Humans do, Velthar answered. Because they have concepts like duty and loyalty that override survival instinct. They will die for abstract ideas. They will suffer for principles. He pulled up historical data. Throughout their history, humans have chosen to fight even when they knew they would lose. They have defended positions they could not hold. They have launched attacks they could not win. Not because they were stupid, but because they valued something more than their own lives. The room remained silent as the officers processed this information. Velthar continued. Now let me show you their capacity for deception and manipulation. This is data on human psychological warfare tactics. The files showed propaganda posters from various wars, disinformation campaigns, psychological operations designed to break enemy morale, interrogation techniques, methods of torture, both physical and mental. Humans have spent thousands of years learning how to break each other psychologically. They understand fear. They understand how to create it, how to use it, how to overcome it. They are masters of the mind game. Krell added his own findings. Commander, I have also analyzed their social structures. Humans form hierarchies, but these hierarchies are fluid. A human can be a follower one day and a leader the next. They adapt their social roles based on circumstances. And when they form groups, those groups become incredibly cohesive. "Show them the pack bonding data," Velthar ordered. Krell pulled up files showing humans with their pets, their families, their military units. Humans bond intensely with their groups. They call it loyalty, friendship, love, brotherhood. Once a human decides you are part of their pack, they will protect you with their life. They will avenge you if you are harmed. This bonding extends beyond their species. We have documented humans risking their lives to save animals, humans mourning the deaths of pets as intensely as family members. "That sounds positive," Kess suggested hopefully. "It would be," Krell replied, "except for the reverse. Humans also hold grudges with equal intensity. If you harm their pack, they will never forget. They will hunt you. For years if necessary. Humans have stories celebrating this. They call it justice. They call it revenge. They make it a virtue." Velthar transmitted a file to the Galactic Unity Council on their home world. It would take hours for the signal to reach them, but they needed to know what he had discovered. In the file, he included all the data: the biological analysis, the psychological profiles, the historical records, everything that painted a picture of what humanity truly was. He recorded a message to accompany the data. "Council Elder Thonar, this is Fleet Commander Velthar. I am transmitting my complete assessment of the species known as humans. My initial report stated they were a low-level threat based on weapons technology. I must correct that assessment immediately." He took a breath before continuing. "Humans are not a low-level threat. They are potentially the most dangerous species we have ever encountered, not because of their weapons, but because of what they are. They evolved on a Category 12 death world. They survived by becoming the ultimate predator. They hunt through persistence. They adapt to any environment. They bond in unbreakable packs. They fight with both body and mind. They hold grudges for lifetimes. They choose death over surrender. They ignore pain and injury when necessary. They are resilient beyond measure. They do not need advanced weapons, Council Elder. They are the weapon. Every human is a weapon. They have spent millions of years being forged by the most hostile environment we have ever seen a species emerge from." Velthar looked directly into the camera. "We searched Earth for weapons and found primitive technology, but we were searching in the wrong place. The weapons are not in their arsenals. The weapons walk on two legs. The weapons think and plan and dream. The weapons are 3.7 billion individuals who refuse to quit, refuse to break, and refuse to surrender." He ended the recording with a formal recommendation. "Based on my analysis, I recommend humanity be classified under Protocol Gamma, Apex Predator. This is a classification we have never used before. I believe humans have earned it. They are not just another species. They are what happens when evolution runs a billion-year experiment in survival. They are what you get when you take intelligence and wrap it in the most durable package possible. I recommend extreme caution in first contact. These are not creatures to be feared necessarily, but they are absolutely creatures to be respected. They are pack-bonding apex predators with technology. Approach carefully, make them friends if possible, because we definitely do not want them as enemies." The message transmitted across the void of space toward the Galactic Unity homeworld. On Earth, Jinwoo, Hyun, and Nari had no idea that aliens were watching them. They did not know they were being analyzed, studied, and classified. They went about their daily lives, unaware that far above their planet, a debate was beginning about what to do with humanity. Velthar stood alone on the bridge after everyone else had left. He looked at Earth on the viewing screen. Such a beautiful planet. So full of life. So deadly. 3.7 billion apex predators, he muttered to himself. And they don't even realize what they are. For the first time in his career, Velthar felt something he had never felt before when approaching a pre-contact species. He felt genuine fear. The response from Council Elder Thonar came back after 18 hours. Velthar read the message 3 times to make sure he understood correctly. Fleet Commander Velthar, your report has been reviewed by the full Council. We agree with your assessment and approve Protocol Gamma classification. Humanity is hereby designated as apex predator species. This is the first time in Galactic Unity history we have used this classification. The message continued. You are authorized to initiate first contact, but you must follow these restrictions. All ships must remain in orbit. No landing parties. No physical interaction until we better understand human behavior. Use Ambassador Zixara for all communications. Proceed with extreme caution. Velthar called Zixara to the bridge. She was a first contact specialist, trained in communication with new species. She had successfully made contact with 17 different civilizations. But even she looked nervous when Velthar explained the situation. Apex predators? She repeated. Commander, I have never dealt with a species classified that way. None of us have. That is why we must be careful. They decided to contact the humans through their internet. It seemed less threatening than appearing directly over a major city. Velthar had his communications officer send a simple message to every connected device on Earth. The message was brief. We are the Galactic Unity. We mean no harm. We wish to speak with your representatives. Within seconds, the message was on every screen, every phone, every computer on the planet. The world stopped. Jinwoo was drinking coffee at the observatory when his computer screen changed. The message appeared, written in perfect Korean. He dropped his cup. In Seoul, Hyun saw the same message. In New York, Nari was in a meeting when every phone in the room buzzed simultaneously. The world went into chaos. Governments scrambled. Military forces went on high alert. People flooded into the streets looking up at the sky. News channels showed nothing but the message, playing it over and over. But within the chaos, organization began to form. Nari found herself suddenly in charge of coordinating Earth's response. The UN Security Council appointed her as the primary liaison. She was given an office, a staff, and direct access to world leaders. Her first call was to Jinwoo and Hyun. You two were right. They are here. And they want to talk. Jinwoo could hardly believe it. What do they want? That is what we need to find out. Can you help me set up a communication channel? Of course. But Nari, we should have a language expert involved too. That was how Sora became part of the team. She was a linguist and cultural anthropologist at Seoul National University. She had studied dozens of languages and cultures. Now she would help humanity speak to beings from another world. The first video communication was set up in a secure UN facility. Nari, Sora, Jinwoo, and Hyun sat at a table facing a large screen. Dongwoo, the UN Secretary-General's Chief of Staff, stood behind them. Military advisors lined the walls. Everyone was tense. The screen flickered, and Ambassador Zixara appeared. She was tall, with blue-green skin and large, dark eyes. She wore simple robes. She smiled, though her expression seemed uncertain. Greetings, humans of Earth, she said. Her voice was translated automatically into multiple languages. I am Ambassador Zixara of the Galactic Unity. We have been observing your world. Sora spoke first, her voice steady despite her nerves. We welcome you, Ambassador. I am Sora, and I speak on behalf of humanity. Why are you here? Zixara chose her words carefully. We monitor developing species across the galaxy. When a species approaches space travel capability, we assess whether they are ready to join the galactic community. We have been conducting such an assessment of humanity. And what have you concluded? Dongwoo asked from behind. Zixara was quiet for a moment. That is complicated. We have classified your species in a way we have never classified any species before. You are designated as apex predator. The humans looked at each other, confused. Nari spoke. What does that mean? It means, Zixara said slowly, that we believe humanity is extraordinarily capable. More capable than most species in the galaxy, perhaps more capable than any species we have encountered. Jinwu frowned. That sounds like a compliment. It is, and it is also a warning. To us. Zixara's expression became serious. We have studied your biology, your psychology, your history. Humans are survivors of a death world. You are persistent hunters. You are adaptable beyond measure. You form unbreakable bonds. You never surrender. You are frankly terrifying. The room fell silent. No one had expected this. Yun laughed nervously. Terrifying? Us? Have you seen us? We are small, weak. We have no natural weapons, no claws, no armor, no venom. Exactly, Zixara replied. You survived a hostile world without natural weapons. Do you not understand how remarkable that is? Most species that evolve on death worlds either develop natural defenses or go extinct. Humans did neither. You developed tools. You developed cooperation. You developed intelligence and persistence. You turned your weakness into your greatest strength. Velthar's voice came through the speaker. He had joined the communication. Let me be direct with you, humans. We scanned your world for weapons. We found missiles, bombs, guns. Nothing that concerned us. Then we realized we were looking at the wrong thing. Your bodies are your weapons. Your minds are your weapons. Your culture is your weapon. You are a species that climbs deadly mountains for recreation. You keep apex predators as pets. You consume poisonous substances for pleasure. You tell scary stories to your children for entertainment. He paused. You have a casual relationship with danger that no other species shares. You do things for fun that would kill most beings in the galaxy, and you do not even realize how unusual this is. Sora thought about this. So you are afraid of us? Yes, Velthar said simply. We are cautious. Fear is perhaps too strong a word, but we are definitely cautious. You are pack-bonding apex predators with technology. That combination has never existed in the known galaxy. Nari leaned forward. What does this mean for Earth? Are we in danger? No, Zixara assured them. We do not harm species unless they are actively hostile. But we must proceed carefully. The galactic unity has rules for first contact. Given your classification, we must follow Protocol Gamma. We will remain in orbit. We will establish communication. We will share knowledge. But we will not visit your planet's surface until we better understand each other. You are afraid to land here, Dongwu stated flatly. We are being cautious, Velthar corrected. There is a difference. We want to be friends with humanity, but friendship requires understanding. And right now, we are still learning about you. The conversation continued for hours. The humans asked about the galactic unity, about other species, about technology and culture beyond Earth. The aliens asked about human society, human values, human intentions. Finally, Sora asked the question everyone wanted answered. What happens next? Zixara smiled. We establish a relationship. We learn from each other. Eventually, if all goes well, humanity will be invited to join the galactic unity. But that will take time. Decades, probably. We must move slowly. Why decades? Jinwu asked. Because, Velthar explained, we need to know if humanity will use its remarkable capabilities for good or for harm. We need to know if you are protectors or conquerors. We need to know if you can be trusted. Nari nodded slowly. That is fair. We need to know the same about you. Exactly, Zixara agreed. So we begin carefully. We talk, we share information, we build trust. This is not a rejection of humanity. This is recognition that you are special. powerful. And with power comes responsibility. The meeting ended with agreements to establish regular communication. News channels would be set up. Cultural exchanges would begin virtually. Scientific information would be shared. Slowly, carefully, Earth and the galactic unity would learn to coexist. As the screen went dark, Dongwu looked at the small group gathered around the table. They are afraid of us. The aliens are actually afraid of us. Hyun shook his head in wonder. We spent our whole lives imagining first contact. We imagined them being superior, advanced, powerful. We never imagined them being scared. Sora smiled slightly. Maybe we should have. We spent millions of years surviving on one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. That has to count for something. Outside, people celebrated in the streets. Humanity had made first contact. They were not alone in the universe. The future had arrived. But in the UN facility, Nari sat alone after everyone left. She thought about what the aliens had said. Apex predators. Terrifying. Dangerous. She looked at her hands. Soft hands. Human hands. Weak compared to so many creatures on Earth. Yet somehow these hands had built civilizations. These hands had reached for the stars. Maybe the aliens were right to be cautious. Maybe humanity was more dangerous than they realized. The question was, what would they do with that power? 6 months had passed since first contact. The world had changed in ways both obvious and subtle. Every day, humans and aliens communicated across the void of space. They shared science, culture, art, and philosophy. Slowly, the fear on both sides began to fade. But it was a kindergarten teacher in Busan who truly changed everything. Hana had watched the news coverage like everyone else. She had seen the aliens on screen, heard them talk about how humanity was dangerous and terrifying. It bothered her. Not because it was untrue, but because it was incomplete. She sent a message to the UN communication team. Let me show them what humans really are. Let me show them our children. Nari, who had become the main coordinator for all Earth alien communications, was skeptical at first. What would this accomplish? Trust, Hana replied simply. They need to see that we are not just warriors and survivors. They need to see our humanity. A week later, Hana's kindergarten class became the first human children to speak with aliens. The video link was set up in her classroom, with 20 small children sitting on a colorful carpet. Ambassador Zixara appeared on the screen, along with Velthar and several other aliens. The aliens looked nervous. The children looked excited. Hello, Hana said warmly. These are my students. They wanted to meet you. A little girl named Yunji raised her hand immediately. Are you really from space? Zixara smiled. Yes, we are. We come from planets very far away. Do you have friends? Asked Minho, a boy with messy hair. Yes, we have friends, just like you do. Do you like games? Asked Subin. We do. What games do you play? For the next hour, the children asked simple questions. They showed the aliens their drawings. They sang a song they had learned in class. They talked about their pets, their families, their favorite foods. It was ordinary, innocent, pure. Velthar watched in silence. These were the terrifying apex predators, these small, laughing creatures who drew pictures of flowers and sang songs about butterflies. These were the beings his analysis had said were so dangerous. After the children left for recess, Hana spoke to the aliens alone. You said humans are terrifying, and maybe we can be. But we are also this. We are love and laughter. We are art and music. We are curiosity and wonder. You cannot understand us if you only see one side. Zixara nodded slowly. You are right. We have been so focused on what makes you dangerous that we forgot to look at what makes you beautiful. That video conference changed the tone of all future communications. The aliens began to see humanity not as a threat to be managed, but as a complex species worth knowing. Meanwhile, scientific cooperation was growing. Una, the marine biologist, started working with Krell on comparative biology studies. They spent hours discussing evolution, adaptation, and survival strategies across different worlds. "Your species fascinates me," Krell admitted during one of their calls. "You survived conditions that would have killed my ancestors, but you did it without armor, without poison, without any of the usual defenses." Una smiled. "We had something better. We had each other. Humans are social creatures. We survive together. One human alone is weak. But humans in groups, we can accomplish anything." She shared data about human cooperation, barn raisings where entire communities built houses together, rescue operations where strangers risked their lives for each other, volunteer organizations, charity work. Humans helping humans, all over the world. "This is the other side of our pack bonding," Una explained. "Yes, we are fiercely protective of our groups, but we also form new groups easily. We adopt strangers into our packs. We help people we have never met. Our capacity for cooperation is as strong as our capacity for conflict." Taiyang, the military historian, started regular discussions with Velthar about defense strategies. What began as tense professional exchanges became something like friendship. "You know," Taiyang said during one conversation, "I have spent my life studying warfare, but I have always believed that the purpose of a strong military is to prevent war, not to cause it. We build weapons hoping we never have to use them." Velthar understood this deeply. That is the philosophy of the galactic unity as well. We maintain fleets not for conquest, but for protection. Then we are not so different after all. "No," Velthar agreed. "Perhaps we are not." Minji, the psychologist, offered to help the alien delegation understand human emotions and behavior. She explained concepts that seemed strange to them. Why humans cried when they were happy, why they laughed at danger, why they formed bonds with animals. "Humans are emotional creatures," she explained. "Our emotions drive us. They make us passionate. They make us creative. They make us compassionate. Yes, they can also make us angry and violent, but mostly they make us care about each other, about life, about the universe." She shared studies on human empathy, on altruism, on sacrifice. "We have documented thousands of cases of humans saving strangers at great personal risk. Jumping into rivers to save drowning people, running into burning buildings to rescue trapped individuals, donating organs to people they have never met. This is also human nature. This is also who we are." The pieces were coming together. The aliens were seeing the complete picture of humanity, strong but gentle, dangerous but caring, warriors and poets, survivors and dreamers. 8 months after first contact, the Galactic Unity requested a formal demonstration. They wanted to see human capabilities with their own eyes. Nari organized a series of events. Junho and his Special Forces team ran a marathon in full combat gear, demonstrating human endurance. Jinwoo participated in a scientific challenge, staying awake for 48 hours to solve a complex problem, showing human determination. Nari herself gave a presentation on military strategy, displaying human tactical thinking. But they also showed other things. Musicians performed a concert that was broadcast to the alien fleet. Artists displayed their work. Poets read their writings. Dancers performed. Chefs prepared elaborate meals, showing the human appreciation for taste and presentation. The aliens watched it all. They saw humans push their bodies to extreme limits. They also saw humans create beauty for no reason except the joy of creation. After the demonstrations, Sora, who had become the primary diplomatic representative, addressed the Galactic Unity Council directly. "You classified us as apex predators," she said calmly. "You are not wrong. We are survivors. We are persistent. We are adaptable. We can be dangerous when we need to be. But we can also be kind. We can also be gentle. We can also be loving. She paused, looking directly into the camera. You asked us to prove that we can be responsible members of the galactic community. Let me ask you something in return. Can you accept that a species can be both fierce and gentle? Can you trust that predators can also be protectors? We do not want to conquer the galaxy. We want to explore it. We do not want to dominate other species. We want to learn from them. We do not want war. We want friendship. But we will defend ourselves if necessary. We will protect our pack. That is who we are, and we will not apologize for it. Council Elder Thonar responded personally. His image appeared on screens across Earth. He was old, with wisdom in his eyes. Humanity, he began. The galactic unity has debated for months about what to do with your species. Some wanted to quarantine your world. Some wanted to limit your access to technology. Some wanted to monitor you for centuries before allowing contact. But I believe we were approaching this the wrong way. You are right, Representative Sora. A species can be both fierce and gentle. We have seen this in our own history. Some of our greatest defenders were once our greatest threats. The question is not whether you can be dangerous. The question is what you will choose to do with that capability. He smiled, an expression that looked kind despite the alien features. The galactic unity offers humanity a treaty, a probationary membership. For 50 of your years, we will work together. We will share knowledge, culture, and friendship. We will learn from each other. At the end of this period, if humanity has shown that it can be a responsible member of the galactic community, full membership will be granted. We are not asking you to change who you are. We are asking you to be the best version of who you are. Be fierce when necessary. Be gentle when possible. Be protective of your pack, but consider expanding that pack to include us. On Earth, people celebrated. Humanity would join the stars. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. The future was opening before them. In her small apartment, Hana watched the news with her cat curled up beside her. She thought about her students, about their innocent questions and pure hearts. They would grow up in a universe larger than anyone had imagined. They would meet beings from other worlds. They would see wonders beyond Earth. She hoped they would remember to stay curious, to stay kind, to stay human. At the UN facility, Nari sat with Sora, Jinwoo, Hyun, and Dongwoo. They had done it. They had represented humanity to the galaxy, and they had been accepted. Apex predators, Hyun said with a laugh. Who would have thought? We always were, Nari replied. We just never thought of ourselves that way. We focused on our weaknesses, not our strengths. Sora nodded. Maybe that is a good thing. Arrogance is dangerous. It is better to be strong and humble than strong and proud. Above Earth, on the flagship, Velthar made his final log entry about humanity. Assessment complete. Humanity confirmed as apex predator species with pack bonding tendencies. Recommendation: befriend immediately. These beings will either be our greatest allies or our worst nightmare. I choose to believe they will be allies. They are dangerous, yes, but they are also loyal. They are fierce, but they are also kind. They are warriors, but they are also poets. They are exactly what the galaxy needs: protectors who understand the cost of violence, survivors who appreciate the value of peace. Personal note: I was afraid when I first saw what humans were. I am no longer afraid. I am hopeful. If apex predators can learn to be gentle, if warriors can choose peace, if survivors can build beauty, then perhaps there is hope for all of us. First contact, successful. Friendship, possible. Future, bright. He looked at Earth one last time before his ship prepared to leave orbit, leaving behind a smaller delegation to continue building the relationship. The blue planet turned slowly in the darkness of space. home to billions of apex predators who loved, laughed, created, and dreamed. They were human, and now they were ready to share that humanity with the universe.